Hello, and welcome to Rocket Fuel, your daily update for everything that's happening in the Rocket Pool community. So today is October 13th, it's a Thursday, and as always, there's an awful lot going on in the Rocket Pool community to update you on. However, before we get started, let's talk about what happened yesterday. So yesterday we had the Rocket Pool token inflation hack, which was not a hack. It was just normal function, but people didn't understand what was happening. There was a lot of fallout from there. People panic selling, people panic buying. We got news that a maker vote was scheduled. Vitalik gave a shout out to Rocket Pool during his keynote address at ETH Bogota, DevCon. We got a tiny bit of bread from patches, which added 0.27 ETH to the smoothing pool. We got lots of pictures from Bogota, from the staking panel, from Langaz's talk, from Ken's talk. We got details, which was really cool. A whole long discussion went on about Rocket Pool tokenomics and setup and everything for like 10 hours. And yeah, so with that done, let's get to today's stuff, which is the first thing was Rocket Pool community space took place. So it was a little bit not later than normal, not at its usual time, and part of that was because the team was calling in from Bogota, which was really cool. However, there were some technical difficulties with the talk and with the space, and then it finished up in the Discord channel in the chit chat room. So that happened yesterday, and I don't know if there's a recording available for that. Normally this box here is recording, but I'm not sure what the recording is, but I'm sure that we'll have the recording up very soon. So Stephen asked, was there a conclusion to the discussion about the RPL tokenomics Ponzi that was covered by WAC on Rocket Fuel today? And then that kind of brought up the discussion again. And Ludicrous Smoothie says the conclusion was that RPL is a Ponzi. Of course it's not. And Dr. Doofus says, I'm not sure there ever will be an answer that satisfies both sides of that spectrum. I would make one simple and maybe pointless argument, which is that a Ponzi scheme is by definition fraudulent, which RPL is not and Rocket Pool is not. And Waldorf asked for a timestamp. Yeah, that's funny. And Steven took it at face value and said there was quite a long discussion and pasted a link for Rocket Fuel. And then, the discussion kind of went on a little bit, but Waldorf's comments here were saying RPL's value comes primarily from access to commission. We can do the math out for that fundamental value and find out if it's related to a bunch of stuff. But importantly, for my point, RETH TVL. On top of that, there's speculation premium based on how valuable folks think that access to commission will get in the future, largely a bet on ETH TVL. Speculation is speculation, it's not based on fundamental value, so sure, number goes up down based on how many people want to buy it. If people over speculate, then we'll absolutely see a decline at maturity. Ideally what happens is the speculation premium decreases smoothly as we approach maturity. That doesn't mean our tokenomics are perfect or nothing, but Ponzi is wildly off base. And then Dr. Doofus says, yep, at worst, with no utility, RPL would be purely speculative in that case, like other collectibles. Just because I hope to sell to someone for more than I bought it for does not make it a Ponzi. That's the definition of speculation. Of course, RPL does have utility too. It doesn't matter if it could be done without it. It is still utility. And yeah, that discussion kind of petered off at that point. So I guess we can call that a cap on it. Another discussion started yesterday afternoon. Deddy asked, would it be possible for a node operator to game the smoothie pool and basically leave smoothie during NFT launch windows and then rejoin after the launch window? Even if it takes a month to leave smoothie, a node operator could still kind of do this with knowledge of NFT launch dates. And then that kind of started a discussion about and Bossy asked Deddy, like, are you trying to validate your strategy? And Deddy says more like address or close a loophole if it exists. And then Waldorf says the loophole exists, but A is minor and B, it's really obvious. If it gets abused, we'll work on closing it. It's possible but annoying. And then I kind of just kept on going with the discussion there about how like how the smoothing pool works, and what kind of benefits are available for a node operator there. And of course, you have to remember there's a 28-day cooling period, like Waldorf mentions here. Launches early in the win period, you can start by sitting it out, then join after the mint to double dip your EV from the mint. Again, minor boost to EV, and incredibly obvious if it's being routinely abused. So, and then Patches gets involved as well, and Not Sure gets involved. So it ended up being a really good discussion about what it works like, and it seems like it's not that big a deal. So I guess people will address it if it becomes a bigger deal. So that's something to keep in mind there. Waldorf actually shared something really interesting here, and I'm going to be talking about this more later on as well. But well, this is actually the beginning of it. So yesterday, people were really annoyed with the comments that Vasily made during the small stakers panel at DevCon. That was the one that Wanda was hosting, and Langas was also speaking at. He said, well, we'll come back to what he said. Actually, maybe the order here is kind of wrong. Let me move this along and come back to it. So, yeah, maybe I should leave this as well. Let me see if I can go back to where the discussion was happening. Actually, let me just find the thread from the intern, because I think that was a really good place to start. So the intern, the Rocket Pool intern, did a Twitter thread where he said, so Lido just told everyone at DevCon panel how they think big professional operators are more important than my home staker friends. Watch a quick 1-minute clip about promoting small and independent stakers first to get the context, then read on. So then there's a link to a 1-minute video. And the intern says, Lido said, we think that most of the stakers should be managed by professional operators, and that home stakers, by contrast, are hobbyists who are not rational and do it for fun. Yikes, maybe they missed the memo. Not the best way to promote small and independent stakers. And then the intern goes on to say, but Ethereum doesn't agree with Lido, and they say that, and this is a quote, solo staking is the most impactful way to stake. By running a validator on your own hardware at home, you strengthen the robustness, decentralization, and security of the Ethereum protocol. And then Ethereum Foundation also goes on to say, to promote the health and decentralization of the network, stakers should select a pooling service that enables a permissionless, decentralized set of node operators. But Lido's node operators are not permissionless and are not trustless. And yet Lido continued suggesting that if home stakers want to do it for a day job, they should get into the set of big boys and grow up. This is clearly pro-centralization, as a subset of operators who are willing to manage a professional level setup is very small. To compare, Rocket Pool's group of little boys who haven't grown up yet do a pretty good job for hobbyists. Over 1,600 decentralized and permissionless operators globally who managed to get 95.4% effectiveness versus Lido's team of 28 professionals at 96.8% effectiveness. We'll come back and discuss those numbers in a bit. Professionals are very visible and so make for easy targets, creating a host of tail-end risks to the Ethereum blockchain regarding slashing, insurance, censorship, over-regulation, and opaque processes controlled by VCs and the whales. And sure, the objective is to avoid the big centralized exchanges swallowing Ethereum, but there are better ways to do it. The intern thinks home stakers are the backbone of Ethereum's credible neutrality and operational resilience, and should be part of the solution, not treated like second-class citizens. For example, Rocket Pool helps home stakers to reduce our ETH validator collateral from 32 ETH to 16 ETH. It's working on reducing this to 8, and later probably even lower still. Plus, Rocket Pool will self-cap to ensure decentralization, and that's how you help to promote small independent stakers. So the intern was really spitting fire there and did a really good job with that tweet thread. And then now we can get back to talking about what we have here. So the first thing is the effectiveness numbers that we talked about. Wait, where did they go? Wait, I lost them. That's weird. Okay, yeah, the effective numbers basically. I got them here. Yeah, so Lido's effectiveness numbers are 96.8%, and the Rocket Pool as a whole has 95.4% effectiveness. So people in the community were saying, hey, look, like, you guys are professionals. Yeah, my effectiveness is way higher than yours, and my rating on rated.network is higher than yours. What gives? Like, stop insulting and being condescending to home operators when your professionals can't do as good a job as we are doing, which I think is a very effective criticism. And now here it is. And Waldorf actually said, I actually find this pretty embarrassing for Lido. They do beat us, but they really should be doing much better than they are. And Rocket Luke said, trivial hobbies from Lido. And they actually like had a whole lot of discussion around this stuff happening into the evening and into the night last night. It's worth reading some of that discussion that was happening. I tried to pick out some bits, and yeah, so this was a really interesting point that Sadkuz had. He said, this is exactly why it pains me when the moderators, in an attempt to be neutrals, treat all protocols in a panel as being equally for decentralization, where it's simply not the case. And a few people mentioned this as well, that one of the things that they really got disappointed by was the fact that none of the other panelists called them up on Vasily's comments directly. No one in the audience kind of gasped or said, what on earth are you talking about? The moderator Wanda did a great job keeping the panel on course, however didn't ask Vasily to explain that, in the context of this being a panel for small and home stakers, why would he be talking about it in such a way? It was really disappointing. A quote that I remember is being neutral in the face of oppressors means that you side with the oppressor, and it kind of reminds me of that. We as a community as a whole, in the Rocket Pool community, we do a lot to kind of highlight the issues with Lido, but as an Ethereum community as a whole, I think we definitely don't do enough to understand the issues with Lido and the centralization risks there, the censorship risks there, just the fact that they control so much of the network. I feel like that hasn't been a discussion that's been pushed as much as it should do. So on that note, I'm going to move on from there to LordBog dropping a bunch of his ETH a couple of days ago, 1,200 ETH. He dropped over $1 million worth. So Rocket Luke had a comment. He said, he's just someone who likes to lose money. Imagine selling into a liquid market when you can find over-the-counter sales here, and imagine selling against your conviction. I'm still baffled to see stupid moves like this when people intentionally lose money for no reason. Like, YOLO, dump it. One would think that someone with $1 million would be more rational instead of throwing money into a trash can by trading inefficiently. It's okay to sell, but why so inefficiently? The yield argument is completely baseless. Bog lost so much money on that inefficient trade that no yield can give him that money back, and also took the price down for the rest of his stack. It's way too irrational. Which is kind of the point I was making yesterday. He literally was jumping around without thinking what he was doing. But that's what it is, right? And then Marceau, who's actually watching the recording later, said, yo, WTF am I watching? This isn't cogent. Did he actually say this? This is a train wreck. So there was a lot of disappointment around, I think, his actions and just the splash that it's made. But hey, we're still doing fine as a protocol, whatever, and he's still involved in the community, right? So it's his prerogative to deal with his money how he wants, but there were definitely smarter ways of doing it. So a couple of hours later, there were some tweets from Maverick, who screenshotted Bog's Twitter, and he said, lock some RBN for 2 years like a psycho. Guys are cranking out great products, good yield. Evo Q4, one of the 5 protocols that actually make money, will be using my voting power to juice TF out of our ETH vault. Juiced our ETH, get yield on your yield on your yield, will probably be best ETH yield in crypto, which is So what does this mean? Like, there was a lot of like, what? So Ribbon Finance is a product that lets you sell covered calls using RETH. Now, what does that mean? Is if the price is higher than a certain amount on Friday morning, you will be forced to sell your ETH at that price. However, if the price is lower than that amount at that time, then the person who bought an option to buy the RETH at that value will lose out on their option money that they put forward to that, and then you'll get a percentage of that. So it's really risky, because as soon as the price jumps, like, I think it's the strike price is normally set up like 10 to 20% higher than what it was on that Friday morning for the following week. If the price jumps up, you lose ETH basically. And it's worked out so far this year, because we've been in a bear market pretty much the whole time. However, there were a couple of weeks there where we did have really big jumps, and people lost like 10% of their ETH in that 1 week. So it's not a neutral situation. However, what Bog is doing now is adding yield, juicing the RETH vault on Ribbon Finance. So the yield from that is going to be like huge. So it might be worth it to put your ETH back into that Ribbon Finance vault, especially if we're going to be crabbing for the next few months, which what people think will probably happen. So Bog then came into trading, and he explained what he was doing. So he said soon that's going to happen, and it'll be awesome for a crabby period. He said yield on top of yield. So this is him talking in trading right here. We'll see what it looks like. And I have 1.7 million votes. So he's like the second biggest RBN voter. He says, I think that's enough to push up an extra 20 to 50% APR depending on demand. And he says, as long as we go sideways, you drop RETH into the vault and ball, like, you make money. And by doing this, I'm hoping people advocate for some damn RPL RETH yield on Balancer. This is free of charge. I can vote for anything, and I'm the second largest the ribbon, like, voting power for the ribbon holder. So he came in there, and he like kind of explained his position, and hey, that pool is going to make a lot of money for a lot of people if they play it right. So it's definitely something to keep an eye on. Next, we had some more images and information coming out of Bogota. This image was posted from Ken. The Ethereum people kind of took over the basement of the conference hall and kind of turned it into what they're calling the hacker basement. I think there's like some word for it. Oh yeah, hacker basement is awesome. So they got like lights and screens and like desk setups for people to like hack things together, which is really cool. We also had this video from which is Kane playing with a unicorn hat that apparently belongs to Ken. So it seems like they're having fun out there. And Ken with the comment saying, I'm in the validating on ARM workshop. I really had no idea how difficult and complex it is to install the client software manually. We all need to take the time to thank Joe for the Rocket Pool installer and config tool. To be honest, I never would have made it as a validator without the Rocket Pool installer. The ETH on ARM team just gave Joe a shout out and said they're big fans of Rocket Pool. So like great things are happening in Bogota, which is really good to see. And wait, there was a comment here from Wanda as well, who's in Bogota, and he said, Ken and I will do a Node Operators Association a debrief next week at some point, most likely. Lots of great lessons and learnings that can't be covered quickly. Get hyped. I recommend watching Vasily's talk. I disagree with some elements, but if you want to change the world, you need to understand why it is the way it is. That's a quick preview, and with that, good night. So that's what Wanda said in his post. Yeah, so with the price action today, people said, Marceau, I need some bullish talk, please help. And Marceau said, I thought Rennick's Twitter thread was pretty bullish. So let's read the thread and then come back to what Marceau's saying. So he says, liquid staking and restaking and fractal sharding will underpin the future of crypto. Rocket Pool is the most decentralized liquid staking protocol. Overview of the key aspects of the protocol economics and of RPL. So Rennick goes on to say, Rocket Pool is designed to be decentralized. Protocol token RPL is required to be staked to run nodes. RPL receives issuance rewards. Issuance rewards are worth $25 million today. RPL will trade with high convexity to ETH. And then he goes on to say, Rocket Pool is designed to be decentralized, unlike Lido Finance. Anyone can run nodes for the protocol. How is this secure? Node runners have to stake half of the ETH, they stake 16 ETH, which is at a risk of getting slashed. 2 node runners need to stake RPL as slashing insurance. RPL is the governance token for RPL. 10% of the 16 ETH stake required to run a node must be staked in RPL alongside it, so a minimum of 1.6 ETH worth of RPL. In exchange for being staked, RPL receives, I think it means issuance rewards. There's no fee charged by the protocol and staking rewards directly. Insurance rewards comes out of RPL inflation. Maybe you didn't mean insurance rewards. Comes out of RPL inflation. RPL inflation is 5% per annum. 70% of that goes to RPL rewards, or 3.5% of inflation. And then goes on to explain today, Rocket Pool's fully diluted value is approximately $385 million. So at today's prices, Rocket Pool staking rewards are $13.5 million per year, and there's 7.4 million RPL staked. So a current price of $21 per RPL, the annualized staking yield is 8.7%, which is pretty decent. Maximum, and then it goes on to like explain more bullish things about how it's going and how things are developing. Let's go back to Marceau's comment. He said, lots of upside in terms of staking participation and Rocket Pool market share. Good summary. We just need our DAO to stop trying to destroy RPL value. So then Bossi asked Marceau, he said, how are they doing this exactly? And Marceau said, attempt at self-destruction number 1. Let us use PDAO funds to buy and burn our ETH to shift commission. Attempt at self-destruction number 2. Let's change collateral to 10% of node operator ETH. So 4 ETH plus 0.4 ETH instead of 10% of borrowed ETH, which is what what we think, which is how we're going to go forward. Attempt at self-destruction number 3. Let's abolish the PDAO, which technically wasn't from the DAO but was from the team, but like yeah. An attempt at self-destruction number 4. Let's reduce RPL collateral max for reasons. So he said, yeah, there we go. So as long as we understand what the value propositions are and how we can keep everything aligned, we're going to be on something really good, but we just need to make sure that we have everything aligned. So on that note, I'm going to end today's episode. I hope you all have a lovely rest of your week, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Bye.